This podcast is brought to you by Casa de la Zisa.
Welcome back to the AI Analysis Podcast. We know Christmas is coming up, so we're keeping our analysis light this week.
And we're doing that by embarking on a total nostalgia trip.
Yeah, this is a real deep dive into a retro artifact. It's a transcript from a 2007 internet wrestling show, Weekly Wrestling Wrap-Up.
This is a perfect time capsule, especially for you, the learner, if you're looking for that aha moment in wrestling history.
It really is.
We're jumping into a very specific week. June 25th through July 1st, 2007. And what makes this source so compelling is, well, it captures this moment where fandom had to balance this incredibly heavy real-world tragedy with
the need for entertainment.
the relentless need for entertainment and comedy.
Yep. So the mission for this deep dive is to really pull out those key stories, those little nuggets of analysis, and connect the retro themes from 2007 to what we're still seeing in wrestling today.
Right.
And you know what struck me right away, just from the original host notes, was his realization that the show's pivot to full-on comedy. It happened way sooner than he even remembered.
Oh, exactly. The host, he noted that he thought the show became strictly a comedy in episode 3.
Yeah.
But looking back at this transcript for episode 2, he admits that those, elaborate comedy bits, the recurring characters,
They were there from the jump.
they started immediately.
Yeah.
And that immediate jarring shift from the sublime to the ridiculous, sometimes within minutes, that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
Okay, let's get into it then. But we can't avoid the context. I mean, that entire week was framed by one event. The tragic deaths of Chris Benoit, his wife Nancy, and their son Daniel were discovered on Monday, June 25th.
It was unavoidable. And the hosts of the Weekly Wrestling Wrap-Up, they addressed it directly.
How did they handle it?
Well, they led with condolences and, crucially, they asked their audience to keep an open mind. The media reports were all over the place. Facts were still coming out.
So they were trying to hold space for the human tragedy.
Right, even as the details got murky. And for the host, Joey Holmes, this was deeply personal. He actually noted that Benoit was his favorite professional wrestler of all time.
Wow. Given that gravity, I get the whole show must go on thing, but did the transcripts show any conflict about keeping the comedy bits? Did they ever question if it might seem, disrespectful?
That's a great question. And the answer is that they basically squared that circle by viewing the two as fundamentally separate.
The tragedy and the entertainment.
Exactly. The real-world tragedy and the pre-taped, pre-planned world of their show, they made a conscious choice to just proceed with the whole broadcast. Tragic context and comedic content right alongside each other.
And we see that same kind of response play out across WWE's programming. The main show, Monday Night Raw, was basically a total tribute.
Yes. The hosts described Raw as being handled elegantly. It was a public morning. They showed Benoit's career highlights, his greatest moments, and paid tribute to his wife and son, too.
A very visible external tribute.
Designed for mass consumption, yeah. Honoring the life of the performer.
But the ECW response, that was completely different. It felt like an homage for the fan who really understood the craft itself.
Precisely. If Raw was the public morning, ECW was the internal professional nod. The main event was CM Punk versus Elijah Burke for the #1 contender spot.
Right.
And that match was specifically structured as an homage to Benoit's in-ring work. The hosts noted that the technical trading of pins in that match, it felt very Benoit-esque.
Can you break that down for a learner who hasn't seen that style? Why is that specific thing, that pin trading, such a signature nod?
Well, it's a style designed to make the match feel like a high-stakes athletic contest, almost like a wrestling chess match, instead of just a brawl.
Okay.
It's all about these quick, complex reversals leading to these split-second pin attempts. And when the host cited that, they immediately linked it to Benoit's classics, with guys like Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero,
The technical match.
the Masters. It was a tribute written in the language of the ring, a high art acknowledgement that was just a world away from the tribute on Raw.
That distinction is such a strong insight, the division between public and in-ring tribute. But now we hit that massive, deliberate tonal shift.
Here we go.
After all that necessary context, the hosts pivot straight into the comedy. And here we get the debut of a major recurring character, John Cena. Or maybe the character satirizing the John Cena phenomenon.
We go from the highest form of wrestling, technical purity, to, well, to the lowest common denominator, which in 2002 was often seen as the hyper-marketable gimmickry of the top champion.
So fake John Cena.
Played by hot stuff Joey Holmes, wearing a t-shirt that just says, "I'm John Cena," and, most importantly, sporting that massive era-defining spinning championship belt.
And the satire here is just. It's rich. Fake Cena has this bizarre, totally fabricated mythology for his belt. He claims he won it because, quote, in Roman times, the gladiators who were strong enough were awarded with spinner belts.
It's so wonderfully ridiculous. It just brilliantly skewers that fan critique that the championship had become a toy, you know, that it lost its history.
Totally.
And Fake Cena's only focus is the belt. Spinning the belt, talking about the belt. He leaves the interview by doing the "you can't see me" and just disappears.
But the ultimate comedic bit has to be the next one. The real-life, in-public interaction with fake John Cena at an Arby's drive-thru. This is where it gets so specific.
And we have the order logged forever in the source material. Fake Cena asks for a large Pepsi, a large Dr. Pepper, and an 8-piece mozzarella stick.
Because,
quote again, because they're good for the abs.
Mozzarella sticks for the abs. Was that a thing people thought in 2007, or is that just the joke?
It was definitely the joke, but it taps into that sort of confusing celebrity fitness advice of the time.
Right.
And the punchline comes when a fan challenges him to a hardcore fight in the parking lot. Fake Cena refuses, says he doesn't do hardcore, and has to protect his moneymaker, his face.
The whole thing is just this pointed commentary, isn't it? The champion is too sanitized, too commercial, too afraid of real wrestling.
And that heavy reliance on a champion defined by his gimmick. The spinner belt, the weird character quirks, that absolutely echoes today. We still see wrestlers whose catchphrase or look takes precedence over their record.
It really proves that the critical fan lens hasn't changed much at all. They were pointing out the same thing in 2007 that we debate now. When does marketability outweigh credibility?
Exactly.
CDZ Collegia Musica is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. It is a kind of school of music, a concert series, and an agency that promotes the musicians, dedicated artists, and educators who we feature as our performers. The goal of the Collegium is to bring community together through music performance. These performances vary in musical style from classical to jazz, and music from different parts of the world, from India to the Middle East, that'd be like Persia, and Japan, and China. The goal is to also educate us to how music functions not so much as a musical universal language, because there are differences in the way that these languages of music are expressed, but to educate us to be able to be more appreciative not only of the music, but the culture it represents. And by doing this, it brings community together.
So let's move to the actual in-ring action and brand critiques.
Yeah.
Back to ECW. After the Raw tribute, what else happened?
Well, after Vince McMahon gave a brief statement, we got a big surprise. The Hot Rod Roddy Piper.
Okay, that sounds like a serious segment.
It seemed like it. Piper comes out, claims nobody is truly hardcore until they've survived everything he has. But this is ECW.
So we get chaos instead.
Total chaos.
Yeah.
Piper misinterprets Matt Stryker, thinks he's being challenged when Stryker just wants him to celebrate his birthday. And it results in this absurd old-school food fight. Piper gives Stryker a face full of cake, which is immediately followed by the Boogeyman coming out and giving Stryker a face full of worms. It was. It was ECW doing heavy lifting that week, trying to balance the serious with the absurd.
Meanwhile, over in TNA, the other host chose their match of the week, and it was a huge endorsement for the alternative.
It was the TNA Championship match. Kurt Angle versus Christian Cage versus Rhino.
A big three-way.
They praised it highly. called it a fantastic 35-minute segment, and the hosts loved the chaos. You had Samoa Joe attacking Angle, Christian was attacked by Abyss, his little group comes out, Sting eventually comes out.
That's a lot going on.
It is, but for the TNA fan base, that was the appeal. It was counter-programming against the more predictable WWE. Angle retained, but the analysis wasn't about the winner.
What was it about?
It was about the booking. The hosts predicted Angle had screwed himself badly by agreeing to tag with Samoa Joe at the next pay-per-view.
And that's what I find so fascinating. They're not just watching the match, they're analyzing the politics, predicting the inevitable screw job.
Critiquing the long-term narrative choices.
Absolutely.
Which leads us perfectly to the analysis of SmackDown.
Which the hosts described as not exactly the most exciting show.
Yeah, right after a pay-per-view. You had Chavo Guerrero retaining his title against two unnamed guys. That tells you everything.
It really does.
The most notable part was the return of Crime Time. They lost their match to the champs, Deuce and Domino, but then they stole the champion's car.
Classic.
Followed by a pretty crude joke from the host that definitely wouldn't fly today. A quick look at the humor of that era.
But the main event analysis is where the real connection of modern fandom lies. Batista beats Edge in a non-title match, and the host immediately calls it.
Says it was inevitable. Batista had to win one eventually to keep the feud hot.
But more importantly,
they predicted Batista would get another title shot at the Great American Bash, despite all the storylines saying his chances were done. And this is where that famous quote comes in.
WWE, they lie a lot.
That's the one.
And that's the key takeaway, that immediate cynical knowledge. The fans know the rules are temporary when there's a big money rematch to be made.
Absolutely. The critical lens of the 2007 fan is a perfect mirror of today's fan. You consume the content with this inherent skepticism. You know the stipulations are soft.
And we also got that classic advice for Carlito, telling him to leave Ric Flair alone because Flair would kick his ass until he's 95 years old.
Some wrestling truths are just eternal.
They really are.
Now, to wrap up, let's go back to the core of that week. The hosts closed their show by picking two memorable matches to honor Chris Benoit's in-ring legacy. And their choices really solidify their appreciation for technical excellence.
The first choice was his performance in the Royal Rumble 2004.
Yeah, chosen specifically because he entered at #1 and won the whole thing.
An incredible athletic achievement.
A monumental one. At the time, only two other guys had ever done that. Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair. They called him the Iron Man of wrestling for it.
And the second choice, the purest expression of his skill, his match at the Royal Rumble 2003 against Kurt Angle.
This one resonated deeply. The host described it as 20 minutes, just solid wrestling, not a flaw in that damn match.
Okay.
That match, that clinic, was what converted him into a lifelong fan of both Benoit and Angle.
And if you connect that focus on flawless 20-minute technical wrestling to today, you see a direct line. That ruthless aggression era style is so prioritized now. Match quality and athleticism are often valued over the kind of comedy we saw with Fake Cena.
It's true. And what's fascinating here is that the sources reveal that even 17 years ago, despite everything, the hosts kept this critical balance. They were sensitive to the tragedy, dedicated to their comedy, and they were constantly questioning the narratives, like the lie about Batista's last opportunity, that critical balance of seriousness, entertainment, and disbelief. It's the constant in wrestling fandom that this deep dive really captured.
That is a perfect way to put it. The whole ecosystem of wrestling culture in the summer of 2007. So for you, our listener, here's the thought. Considering that TNA match Angle versus Cage versus Rhino was the match of the week in 2007 for its action and chaos, what single match from the last year would you choose to represent the absolute best wrestling of the 2020s? Thanks for listening to the AI Analysis Podcast. Don't forget to vote for the 2025 Arete Awards. Voting is still open, but ends December 31st. We'll see you next time.